friends and enemies. Welcome back, Canadian Bitcoiners Podcast. My name is Joey. That's Len. This is number 184. Buddy, lots going on in the world of Bitcoin and the world of extreme weather. But before we start,
it's getting warm over here. Must be the reason why that things are.
What's going on? How are you?
Man, Joy. After a great weekend, I mean, what an event, eh?
Totally.
Yeah. You were there just for the dinner, but man, oh man, Tom and Nick, the Rockstar people, Your Life, Your Terms event, they're always like incredible. They're well run. I have to say one thing too, like just before we go any further. My wife mentioned to Nick, when we first got there was not a seat available.
Yeah.
And Nick right away is like, oh my God, I'm like, no, this is a testament to you guys that people show up and want to listen to you guys.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was incredible, so man. The event I heard was really outstanding. Tom and Nick, I mean, they go balls to the wall with those events all the time. I talked to Tom after my last Your Life, Your Terms podcast appearance about like the cost and the time, and it really is like a huge undertaking. And for those guys to be able to put one on basically once a quarter ish, it's twice a year, maybe something like
twice
that.
a year.
Yeah. So I mean, for them to do that really is a testament to how much they care about their client base. They don't make any money off of that. I don't know if Tom and Nick told you that. It's like not a moneymaker for them. It's expensive to rent the conference hall out, and then they basically just try and backfill the cost of that with the booths. And they don't even, if I had to guess, they probably don't make it all back. Once you factor in like paying for people's travel, if they do that, there was some people coming from pretty far to give talks and do a bit of content during that conference there. Can you call it a conference? What is it? Is it a symposium if it's only one day? I don't know, but it's, it is what it is. And I think they do a good job, and to their credit, they had, a small group of us for dinner afterwards, which I really appreciated. It was good to see you and your wife. I know Kenzie was happy to see the Bull Bitcoin guys again, see you again, and Mark, and meet Tom and Nick for the first time among others. Good to see Ben Perrin there. I won't name names. I talked to a few good Bitcoiners who are.
No, I will, because they came to. Ben was a great guy, not Ben BTC Sessions, but another Ben.
Other Ben.
Yeah, it's good to meet. And there was a few guys that came to listen to the show and just came up to me.
Yeah,
like, listen to you
BTC mentor. I won't say the name. A few other people who like, I don't want to say they're fans.
He's saying as a NIM?
Well, I don't know if he is or not, but he runs that account. And like, I hate calling people fans of the show. You listen to the show, you enjoy the show, but being a fan, I don't know. I never liked the way that sounded. I think you guys are as much a part of this whole thing as we are. And it's great to talk to you guys. And then Len, the Bull guys never disappoint. Like I was sitting with Guillaume and talking to him about a number of things. And my wife,
there was one particular event though, Joy.
Yeah.
When I got there, I went to go say hello to Tom. He was busy. He just wanted to say hi and give him a hug, and very nice to say hello to him. As I'm walking back, unbelievable. There was a group of individuals there, unhinged corn lords, taking up a fucking row. I had no idea they were going to show up. Like, what the fuck is this? They just appeared.
The corn lords somehow parted. It's amazing. They somehow got wind of this event. They must be, one of them has to be on the Your Life, Your Terms mailing list. So they get wind of the event. They I don't want to say beg. They asked Tom if they could come, Tom and Nick. Tom said sure. And so they come to the event, and they're very cordial. They thank Tom afterwards, which you'd love to see that. Not that I'm like responsible for the corn lords, but
oh my God.
Awesome. And yeah.
My daughter was recognized by a few people from the video that she did on a cold card.
Nice.
And yeah, it was good. It was a good event all around. Yeah. I mean, thank you, Mr. Caradzas, yes. Plural, for inviting us. That was very
very gracious. And like, yeah, again, the Bull guys, Kev, Pablo, Guillaume, like good talking to you guys. Yeah. It's just like Tom said it, and I'll echo it here. Being with that group of people is incredible. And it's not just because, they're affiliated with CBP or because, you get a dinner out of it, but it's rather because like that's a group of like-minded people who really are like putting rubber on the road in a lot of ways, whether it's our little thing with the podcast or Your Life, Your Terms, realty turned Bitcoin maximalist, outfit in the desert. Ben Perrin there doing his thing as always, the educator extraordinaire, the Bull guys showing up and showing out like always. It's it's just such a great group of guys, man. And he says the same thing to me every time we get together with that group, that the conversation just gets going and it just doesn't stop. Once everyone's seated and talking, it just flows, man. And there's not many people you can do that with, even people who you know and are like really good, tight buddies with. There's still lulls in the conversation, but you sit with those guys and there's just so much to say. I really appreciate that about everybody. And I was really, really glad that
yeah. And they'll show up even, it's not like you have to supply free pizza for them to show up. They will show up regardless. You know what I mean? So like, that's good, man. I like to hear that.
Totally. Anyway, let's get into the sponsors. EasyDNS. Mark was at the dinner. He was telling some good stories about some of the stuff he's been up to over the last little while. I got to say, Mark has been a great partner to the show. EasyDNS is probably the best place out there to get a website, take care of any registrar domain stuff that you need, for a number of reasons. We talked about them a bunch on the show. DomainSure is this thing that's come to our sort of into view for us, Len and I, in a big way over the last few weeks, thanks to Mark teaching us a little bit about it. This is a thing that will keep your domain safe from typo squatting. So if you have .com and someone grabs .co or .co or .ca or whatever, some other suffix, let's say, and wants to scam people, Mark will make sure that you're taken care of. If people are spoofing your domain through emails or other stuff, Mark will take care of it. And there's a whole suite of stuff that's available with EasyDNS and DomainSure. But then on top of that, there's the basics that everyone who gets a website should demand at this point, because Mark is doing it. There's no reason why everyone else can't do it. GPG and PGP email, all your virtual private server needs taken care of. Easy to bring a website over to Mark or buy one through Mark. Piece of cake either way. It's cheap. Money back guarantee. Doesn't matter what the reason is. If you don't like the service, he'll just hand you your cash. And on top of that, Len, he's a Bitcoiner. Takes Bitcoin for the services, and obviously writes the Bitcoin capitalist letter, which we like over here at CBP. And you can't beat that, man. It's like another good guy, good Bitcoiner, family man, taking care of business in the Bitcoin world. So if you want to patronize Mark and start your own website, which you should really have, like even if you just buy it to stash the domain, do it through Mark. EasyDNS.com. CBP Media is the code. Or just tell them we sent you, and you get 50% off your first round of buys, which you can't beat. Who's the second sponsor?
Bull Bitcoin. I'm not going to be squatting on that domain name because it's taken, and nor would I try to get make a spoof of that, because obviously it would be snatched up and caught by the good people at EasyDNS. Bull Bitcoin, look, the price of Bitcoin, 64,000 and change, went up today, right? Like
we're down again now. Sad. Under 63, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, damn.
Well, whatever the heck it is what it is. Buy, sell. You have different options. I'm gonna take a peek right now. Fees are still very cheap, so you could buy on chain, which I would recommend. You could do through Lightning, which is an option. I would recommend people learn how to do that when fees do get higher, because it will come eventually. But for the time being, buy on chain. And you can sell on chain. Bull Bitcoin has you covered in either of those two endeavors. But also, Bull Bitcoin will give you the ability to sell your Bitcoin and use that to pay your bills. So you're going to be, you have a bill to pay, whatever the heck it is. You have a car payment, you have mortgage, whatever. Well, one way you could pay it, instead of just using dirty fiat, you could use your Bitcoin. And a lot of us, we've been sitting on Bitcoin for a very long time. So it's maybe gone up in price. It could be an opportunity for you to start using it in that regard. Another thing you could do with your Bitcoin is, it's hard to use it in the real world. So what does Bull Bitcoin give you the option to do? Buy gift cards with your Bitcoin. And with that, you can start spending the gift cards in the real world. So you're kind of spending indirectly your Bitcoin through your everyday purchases. You could go Home Depot, you could go to Starbucks, whatever the heck you want to do. So a lot of different options there. Check them out. If you have not opened an account with them, use our promo code. And if you do, $21 is going to be added to your account. And man, oh man, you are in good hands. There's no better Bitcoiners in this game than Bull Bitcoin. Ask around, go look around. You will find everybody looks at Bull Bitcoin. They hold it at very high regard. Other countries wish they had it. France has it right now, but other countries don't. It's too bad. So sad. But you know what? We have it here in Canada. Take advantage while you have it.
100%. I made a nice big buy today on Bull Bitcoin. I'm happy to announce here on CDP. Third sponsor, Decentral Technologies. Len, if you're looking to make like Jeffrey Epstein and buy some miners, these guys have you covered. Whether you want to get into the S19, S21, the big rack and stack, cause some ruckus in your neighborhood, make the city wonder why your hydro bill is so high. These guys got you covered there. They'll also do repairs of those boards, of course, and those units. Make sure that you're still hashing even in the adversarial conditions, let's say. But as I like to mention as well, if you want to get into the wife-friendly mining game, which many of you are getting into, I understand. I have on good word, Len, that the CBP miners are almost sold out.
Oh
So
man, that's good
yeah,
and bad.
it's good and bad. If you didn't get one yet,
Yeah.
you ought to. And if you can't get one, you should get a bid axe anyways, because these things are really incredible units. It helps to decentralize the hash. And, it's a lottery ticket if you want it to be. It's in a pool it's pointed to a pool that you support if you want it to be. And whether you want it to be or not, it is a conversation starter. I'll tell you that much. And a lot of people who I've spoken to over the year, since we basically started talking decentral, maybe half year, I should say, have all been super hype on not only the company, not only the team over there, but the units are just so flashy, so nice. Whatever you need, man, when it comes to mining, they got you. Head over. There's no promo code. Buy some stuff. Buy a miner. Buy a doll. I don't care. These guys deserve your business, and we're happy to be partnered with them over here at CBP.
Boosts?
Let's do it.
All right. So we have top 5 boosts, but I'm going to call 6 because same guy did 2. So I'm going to throw him in, which is Wartime. He did twice, 333 sats. First time, he writes in friends and enemies. That's it. I love it. Second time, GM with a couple of beer mugs.
Good morning. The good morning beer. Interesting. Yeah. Were we on vacation? When is the good morning beer appropriate? It's only appropriate, I think, if you're wearing an all-inclusive bracelet, if you're getting ready to go to a music festival, and St. Patrick's Day. Are those the only 3 times you can have a beer before 12? I think so. I might be the wrong guy to ask, but I think that's about it. Maybe there's other ones I don't know.
I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when the other times would be, but I think that's about as long as my list is. And by the way, I think probably 2 of those things I've probably aged out of. So I'm down to 1 time, and it's the vacation all-inclusive morning beer. But that's it for me. Thanks for the boost.
Well, maybe morning when you drink, but somewhere in the world it's going to be afternoon, evening, and
Is that
night.
the trick? Is that the trick?
That I remember when somebody was practicing Ramadan and he was eating during the day. He's like, it's night somewhere. He said,
Wait a minute.
So yeah, Baba Maleka, 500 sats. He says, interesting deep dive into hyperinflation with David St. Onge.
Dave's the best, man. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. His book is behind me there, Bitcoin for Beginners. I replaced Bill Simmons, or Shea Serrano, I should say, basketball and other things. Dave was a great guest. And I've been meaning to talk to him since the summertime. We tried to book one during the conference and couldn't get it done because of my logistical error. But he's a guy who's done a lot of research, Len. And if you listen to that show, it's not just, sort of a mile wide and an inch deep. It's in depth. The things that cause currency inflation, the idea that governments who have US dollar denominated debt, including European countries, I shouldn't say US dollar denominated debts in European countries, but rather debts in currencies, debts with currencies in which they cannot print. It's very problematic because the loans become burdensome, and it's just this real crazy spiral. As well as stuff like substitution theory, like currency substitution. It was a really good interview. I'm glad I spoke with him. If you guys haven't seen his presentation, you can go on his website, which I think I put in the show notes. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. If not, go to him on Twitter, and you'll see a lot of the stuff he's done, written, spoken about. You should have some understanding of this, because as a Bitcoiner, you're going to take questions on this all the time. Well, what's the currency is not hyperinflating? There's no hyperinflation. And I think, Dave and I were talking about this during the show. The powers that be, sort of put these 3 or 4 check boxes on what makes hyperinflation. And we basically got all of them except for this 50% in a month thing. So make of that what you will. It's possible that the goalposts are not quite as important as the powers that be want you to believe, as it pertains to hyperinflationary outcomes in modern economies. So yeah, good interview. I'm glad he came on. And thanks once again to him for, I think, doing it on somewhat short notice, but also staying a little longer, because we got not off the rails, but he had a couple of good things to say at the end. I didn't want to cut it at an hour.
Mo BTC Dick, 500 sats. God, I'm stoked on my bidaxe. Hope to have a small army of M one day. I would suggest, if you're going to do that, maybe just go get a bigger, beefier option, maybe like a S21
Do both.
or S19.
Why not do both?
Or do both. It'll be noisier, But I think for bang for the buck, you probably would benefit from just getting from one of those. Also, you could get like an S19 that could plug into one of your regular 110 volts, and it'll be much quieter too. So that's another option. My suggestion, and either way, Decentral Tech will have you covered with all those different suggestions.
I know.
Boomer, aka the Broken Ruler, 1000 sats. Great interview. David is one of those guys who make the Canadian Bitcoin community special. He always has a smile on his face, contributes a ton to the Montreal meetups, and is always out there orange pilling, but keeps a low profile online and isn't interested in being an influencer, in quotes. He's a real one and someone I've looked up to in the space for a while. It was awesome to hear Joey speak with him.
I appreciate that, Boomer. I forgot to mention, you know that in the interview, Dave had a BitX running next to him the entire time.
Couldn't hear it.
Couldn't hear it. Yeah, pretty sick. He lives like 20 minutes from Decentral. And so I think the story he told me after, I don't want to give up. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give up the whole thing. He went there looking for a BitX. They didn't have one ready. So they built him one in like half an hour.
That's awesome.
How great is that? Is that not awesome? Like what company does that for you? That's great.
Lightning Mick, 2100 sats. I hear it might be Alen who is Satoshi. Find out Tuesday. What a jackass this Cullen HBO director is.
Is it coming out tomorrow? Is that the date for the, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to watch it, but whatever.
No, we'll talk about that momentarily because that's certainly, it's making headways. One last thing I've done with the boost. I've interviewed yesterday evening Matthew from the Laurier Bitcoin Club.
Matt Vuk,
I guess we're going to post that.
Right? That guy?
I didn't say his last name. It's just Matthew. That's all I leave.
Oh, he's on Twitter. I think that's him. Maybe it's not though.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be either way. Very cool guy, and I think it's going to go live Wednesday. I'm guessing. Is that right?
Yeah.
So there you go. So unfortunately, it's not going to go live, and the reason being, he has class. So, right, he's a student. He's a second-year student at Laurier, and we're in different ends of the spectrum. He and I. So he has commitments that couldn't do it on a weekday night. So here we are. We did it on a weekend. We'll still release it. So hope you enjoy it.
Bless him. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I should have, if I had known it was probably there last night. I should have just done the audio yesterday and saved myself the work later, but that's okay. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Theirs. So
yeah. Who do we have next week is Goomba, right?
I have Goomba next week.
Okay.
And week after, I might have somebody lined up.
I'm going to try and get Mike Campbell for the week after.
Okay.
So let me reach out to Mike. He's back doing his show. So I wanted to wait, but I'll reach out to Mike and the team there and see if he wants to come on Tuesday or Wednesday that week, and I'll save you. I don't want you doing too much because you're gonna be carrying the load for probably 3 weeks or so.
I think it's gonna be longer than that.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe, but
I have a feeling it's gonna be a 6-month endeavor. But
my hope,
okay. I mean,
my hope is that it's 3 weeks, but we'll see. Yeah, Kenzie's on the other side of the door, right beside me, putting a couch together. We just bought a couch, so yeah, we're getting ready for I don't know what's the word. A growing family. I don't know. It makes you feel weird to say that. Blessed, but weird all the same. Anyway, should we get to the Bitcoin stuff? It's been 20 minutes here almost. We're just wasting.
Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. So let's start off with a story that, I mean, it's kind of flew under the radar when it was initially released, was Bitcoin Core 28. It came out with not much fanfare because if you look at the X account that normally handles Bitcoin Core information, announced nothing until a few days after.
You actually got on Twitter and was that a pointed tweet toward that account? It was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was curious. I don't tend to do this very often, but for that, I seemed it was appropriate. But they didn't release that information until days later. I mean, It seemed odd that Bitcoin Core version 28.0 has been released. Either way, I mean, for those wondering what goodies are included in this release, it's supporting testnet 4, which is going to replace eventually testnet 3. It has something called pay to anchor, which may allow for more efficiencies when using witness output spending. So this can make it more efficient for opening Lightning channels, which can be good. RBF is now enabled by default, so it's there on version 28, which is cool. But there's some things that are wrong with it, with Bitcoin Core version 28. LND, so if you're running the version of that type of Lightning node LND, every version up to 0.18.3, which is essentially every version, seems to be incompatible with Bitcoin Core version 28. So you are shit out of luck. Also, if you're running a local version of mempool, elect RS is incompatible with Bitcoin Core 28, from what I understand. It basically, the processes kill each other. So if you want to have a functioning node with Lightning support and also having the ability to have a mempool, Bitcoin Core 28 doesn't seem to be the right version for you. So I mean, that's obviously the bad, which just seems to be odd. Shouldn't they be testing this shit out beforehand? But whatever, it is what it is. With this release, made Bitcoin Core version 25.x and everything before that obsolete, because as of the release of this, it's Bitcoin Core 25.x and below will not receive any critical security fixes moving forward. That's the way it operates. It's basically, it's the version -2. So version 28, 27, and 26 are getting all the critical security releases moving forward, which is cool. So I had mine version 25.2, I think it was. I had moved over to 26.2. I'm always a few behind for obvious reasons. I can see why I do this.
Good practice. Yeah.
Also, with version 20, it comes a new mempool filter. I don't know too much about this, but this is supposedly, hopefully, I mean, I'm not sure exactly without really saying too much. It could stop spam. I don't know, but there is a new mempool filter included in this. But really, with all this being said, we have 28 released, has issues. Would you want to upgrade to it? I would say no. Like I gave you a few reasons why not. And it's basically, like you mentioned, good practice. Stay a few versions behind if you're going to run core. Don't go on, I don't want to say this is bleeding edge, but don't go at the tip of the spear here. Stay as far away as possible with still getting critical updates. That's my opinion. Or run a competing version. Knots, maybe one. There's lots of different options out there. We'll talk about that just a bit. But yeah, 28.0 seems to be a dud right now until there is going to be some patches released, which I assume will be soon.
What should I add to this? I don't know. I mean, we've talked about this on this show, I think twice or 3 times now in the last 2 months. These sort of maybe not issues with core releases, but rather issues with communication from the core team, right? And this is another example, man. I was watching to give you an idea of like how sort of far ahead we are as far as like, our race with traditional finance and adoption, in terms of adoption, I should say. I watched that BlackRock presentation on Bitcoin that was given at Token 24 or whatever it's called, or Digital Asset 24. I forget what the name of the conference is. And there's a couple of Q&A segments at the end where they talk about, what are the challenges for Bitcoin? What are the challenges as far as this potential disruptions, and everyone talks about the same thing. They talk about government intervention. They talk about, global EMP. It's nonsense, but it's, a concern for Bitcoin among other financial networks, of course. But no one ever talks about the core team. And I think, Len, as this thing gains momentum, Bitcoin, the asset class, I think there's going to be more eyes on the core team and more solid, steady, and transparent expectations of that group in terms of communication, in terms of when to update the core software, in terms of what a round number update. I'm probably not using that term right, but like 28, for example. What should that look like as opposed to the iterations you might do in between versions? I think that this is becoming big enough that it warrants another look at the requirements around updating the software, doesn't it?
Agreed.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake here.
They fucked this up, not the software itself, well, maybe the software itself in this case, but they fucked this up 3 times now in the last 3 months, something like that, right? That's about the cadence, I think.
Well, I won't say fuck. It was the release
the communication. The communication.
That was
bad. They talked about the old software having problems, right? And now this issue with the brand new version. This is how does, and not that we need to like cater to BlackRock first and foremost, but how does a $1 trillion asset manager say to its client base, "Oh yeah, okay, well, can you do anything about this communication?" What's BlackRock going to say? Well, no, we can't. Like, that's not going to stand for that much longer. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But I think it's inevitable that we see changes in the way these things are communicated. And there will be Bitcoiners who say, well, this is why there's no open source developers anymore, because everyone has a target on them and the expectations have changed and it's not fair and wah. Well, guys, maybe you're not cut out to manage the $1 trillion Bitcoin. Maybe you were only cut out to manage the $500 Bitcoin. Many of you are still from that era. God bless you for sticking around, right? But things change, and the demands of the people who are holding the asset change. It's a very fluid situation, I think, now more than ever, and it requires a new set of standards that right now, in my opinion, are not being met.
And all this really is they're providing users like you and I and everybody else is the ability to run a particular software, node software. That's all it really is. It's competing software. There already is some, and anybody can simply make a new one as well. As long as the software is in consensus with the network rules,
right?
People can start using that new software and go with it. So that's the one beauty about this whole thing is there is no intellectual property we're dealing with. We don't have to ask for permission or give people money to make software that's going to be used on the network. Anybody can do it. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. And I don't recommend you try either. This is not the time to try. You got to learn first.
It just is that the ability is there. If there's a hole in the ecosystem and you want to fill that void, you can do it with enough time, effort, energy, and money. You could take care of that and do it because there's nothing stopping anybody or a group of individuals or a company or whatever from doing it. And it's also good to have competing products. Having more of these products out there give users an opportunity to pick and choose whatever they want.
For sure.
They might have a particular flavor that they want to run for whatever reason. That's great. If it runs in consensus with the rules of the network, all the more power to everybody, man. I don't give a fuck.
Open source is the way, right? We've, been, promoting it, I guess is the wrong word, but we've been advocates of open source development. We support open source software on this show. Just there's ups and downs, right? So
this MSTR fight that's going on here, and we haven't even talked about it. Then in our chat in the Corn Lords, it's still going on. I don't know what's going on. There's something in the water, and I'm not going to talk about this.
Are we talking about MSTR today?
Hell no. No. This is, I'm entertained.
It's in the chat now. It's in the chat. Ben Schmidt, who was at the dinner. I see these guys going, Ben's not in the Corn Lord chat, or is he? I don't know. Maybe he is.
No.
The Twitter stuff today. Everyone's taking the MSTR bait, the master bait on Twitter and fighting each other. Guys in the Corn Lords going after Ben, going after a few others. My opinion on, I know you said we're not going to talk about MSTR. My opinion on MSTR is great. And Ben had a great point today. When everyone else, I'm not saying you want or don't want MSTR. You do whatever you want. But if you have some fiat exposure to Bitcoin through MSTR, when everyone else is selling Bitcoin for services and goods, you will be selling MSTR for those services and goods first, I think. And some people say that in 2026, you might run into a problem because some of those bonds mature. We'd have to get SB on to talk about that. Or Josh Olszewicz talks about that. Or maybe Punter Jeff, if he ever responds to my fucking Twitter messages. But anyway, we don't have to talk about it. It's fine. Whatever.
I am entertained, Joey. Just like I can sense the car wreck, and once it happens, I'm going to drive by. Oh, look at that. So as for alternative nodes out there, because we were chatting about Bitcoin Core, there's one node software that people can run. It's called BTCD. BTCD. That's an alternate node, Bitcoin node that was written in Go. And unfortunately, this has a consensus bug. And people using this, well, the people maintaining it suggest you should be upgrading it. The latest version right now is 0.24.2. That was released in June. As of October 6th, yesterday, I don't see a newer version that could be upgraded. So they may be suggesting to upgrade to a newer version. I don't see it on their GitHub. Well, for people wondering what's the difference between, say, BTCD and, say, something like Bitcoin Core, BTCD does not have a wallet software built in it. Unlike Core, where you can function as a wallet as well as a node, it's not recommended, in my opinion, to run the wallet on your Bitcoin Core. But either way, BTCD does not give you that option. It's just strictly the node. So with that, there's no ability to generate a receive address or broadcast a transaction like you can on Core. But there's going to be a pending security update, and people at BTCD note that transparency is key, and they will disclose information in a week after making this announcement. So that means October 10th, in a few days from now, they're going to reveal why And hopefully the reason why people should be upgrading their software, because it's taking a week to release that information. So a lot of people using this. Apparently not. Looks like around 36 people in total are running these nodes. It's not a heck of a lot of people,
No.
but in a grand scheme of things. But either way, this is an alternative, but this is an alternative that has issues. But even providing information a week after the fact, and they're telling people to upgrade, and I couldn't find where to upgrade to, at least on the GitHub.
Cool.
Maybe there's somewhere else.
This sounds all really cool and very cash money. That's for sure.
Yeah, so there you go. Here's an alternative, but it's
so what do you like? What do you do? You just run knots, I guess. Like what? Like
knots
what else?
is great. From what I don't run.
If you don't want to run just regular core, you don't want to run BTCD.
Yeah, I run core. I mean, full disclosure, I run core. Mine is 26 point something. Knots is fine. Very good from what I understand. I run mine has a filter on it. So through the bitcoin.com file, I put in some specific commands provided by Bitcoin all caps. Thank you to him for that information. So it's filtering out that from my mempool, which is great.
Yeah.
But I run core. What option are you going to have? Whatever you want. A lot of different options. BTCD. Based on what I see,
try it out.
But it's good to have options.
Give it a shot. See what happens.
I ain't.
Recommended by CBP Len.
No, man. You know what? To spin up a new node, it's a commitment. You know, like it's a several day commitment.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to sit there and watch it, but yeah, it takes several days to sync up.
It's brutal, man.
Yeah,
but you have to every once in a while go peek on it to see if something has happened. Maybe it lost internet connection and it never reestablished, and it's stuck. 32% into the process, and you got to try to babysit it through the rest of the way. I've been through it many times, and I don't want to go through it again. And just a heads up for people that do, if you already synced it, you can back up everything. It's in the chain folder. There's something like that. There's two folders you could essentially back up, and you don't have to go through the whole painful process of doing an IBD. And it's going to be like 600 gigabytes, 700 gigabytes in total. So you have to have a beefy drive that has a lot of spare capacity.
I usually get IBD after I have a piece of cheese. But anyway,
let's move on, man. Let's move on. Ocean mining. They launched Datum. When this came out last week, we could have talked about it. It was late in the game.
It was the same day, I think, that we did the show, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And my Mondays are generally really busy, so there's not much I could do to pick up anything that's recent. Datum, what it stands for, is Decentralized Alternative Template for Universal Mining. That's what it stands for. So to give some context what Datum is, I first have to explain what is the process for Bitcoin mining, what it currently works right now. So you have these miners, either large corporations with a lot of equipment that's racked, or a simple nerd miner. Either one, they'll have to connect to a pool, something like Foundry, Brains, or whatever. And so once a block is found within a pool, it's up to the company that's maintaining the pool, like Foundry or Brains or whatever, to build a block by selecting whatever transactions they want to include into the next block. So with a few big mining pools out there, you can make a case that there could be some centralization within the world of building blocks. Well, here comes something called Stratum v2, and this is developed by Brains. And what this is, it has one big improvement aside from a few others. And one of the big improvements is to help with decentralized mining, allows for individual miners to select the transactions they want to include in the next block. So they basically will be building it. And so this helps reduce the risk of censorship. Rather than letting the pool decide which transactions to include, the miners can do that very task. And so you're not going to have potentially something censored out of not being added to the next block. Ocean did some analysis and came to the conclusion that Stratum v2 is not quite ready yet. And so in the interim, they released something called Datum, and it enables then miners to build their own blocks using their own block template, very similar to what Stratum v2 does. And Datum is currently in public beta. And as a way to incentivize users to adopt it, they're offering a 50% discount on pool fees. This is a way to help encourage miners to not only go to Brains, but also use the Datum public, the beta release. That's going right now. And if people are wondering if this is going to be a long-term solution to replace Stratum v2, probably not, because Stratum v2 offers a few other goodies like enhanced communications and further efficiencies, which Datum does not provide. Maybe it will in the future, but for the time being, Datum does not provide that. So the roadmap is, this is just a stepping stone to eventually get to Stratum v2 whenever that is ready for prime time. So interesting decision by Ocean to release this.
Yeah, we should get Bob on the show to talk about this. Be curious to hear some of his rationale that he, maybe didn't share on Twitter. And also, this is, I understand, the way for something like CBP pool to exist, right? Narwhal in the chat last week saying that it sounds to him like this is a way you could create your own kind of custom, maybe custom is the wrong word, bespoke, let's say, mining pool, bespoke blocks, as you mentioned there, through the new template option. It's kind of neat. And, this is, I think, it's a testament to one of the bigger names in the mining space, understanding that there's a need for decentralization and to get away from the stuff that we've been doing in mining, which is great. And Bob is an Ocean proponent. You're an Ocean proponent, I think, as well. I don't want to speak for you, but that's a pool you like and a setup you think is beneficial to the network. So I say I'm all for this. Now, the one thing is, like, how did Stratum v2 catch a stray in all this? Like, people really like Stratum v2. I don't really hear much negative talk about that from Brains. So
yeah, and Boomer's even asking that, like, why are they, instead of using it, they build their own thing?
Yeah,
from what I gather, it's just not ready yet. It's simply, I'm going to equate it to Lightning in a way. Maybe I'm just oversimplifying things.
Is Lightning not ready, or is it just not adopted? Like, that's
no, I don't think it's ready. I mean, not only the fact that it can't be scaled out to every citizen, so every person on this globe, there's still some user issues when using it, in terms of sometimes things don't go through. You have to manage your balances if you run your own node, the channel, the balances and so forth. So it's not the easiest thing to use. And even then, when you think you have the right amount that could, right amount for outgoing and ingoing, and you do a transaction, doesn't go through, like, what the fuck? Like, just, I don't know. It's great, but not perfect. It's getting better. But that's what I'm kind of relate Stratum v2. When you're talking about something with, you're expending a great deal of cost, you want to have it work and get paid right away. If you're a miner, you don't give a fuck if they're building a block.
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
You just want to get paid.
Yep.
So until
in a lot of cases, your shareholders demand it, right? Like, there's a whole other set of requirements for those guys. Yeah.
And they could be all JPEGs. Or they could be all, like, whatever.
No one cares.
They're happy. The shareholders are happy in the end because they're getting paid. So
totally,
that's the reality.
Yeah.
So HBO. Let's move on to the HBO thing.
Why are we talking about, like, what? This is retarded. This, like, stupid documentary.
It's regarded. I agree. Very regarded.
Yeah,
I heard a G.
Highly regarded. Yeah.
Yes, I heard a G. Yeah. So, like, the reason why I'm bringing this up is, for whatever reason, on Bitcoin Twitter, it's taken.
It is
a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah.
And so, heck, I mean, if people are talking about it, I might as well at least bring it up. I don't have much to say aside from the fact, for people that are wondering, this is something called Electric Money, the Bitcoin Mystery. It's set to be released on October 8th. That's of tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO. And the documentary claims to reveal the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto. Yeah, right. The documentary, think about it, though. This does raise one question, and I've thought about this at length, is for a group of people, Bitcoiners, where we have the don't trust, verify, we're always trying to find a truth. For whatever reason, this whole Satoshi identity, we just kind of let it be, because we don't have the ability to look into it. We don't have the resources, or maybe it's just impossible to find out who the dude or dudette was, or the group of people. I have no idea. But either way, it just seems odd that, like, as Bitcoiners, that we just kind of accept it.
Does it matter though? Like, doesn't it matter who Satoshi is at this point? It doesn't even matter if Satoshi's like an agent at the CIA at this point.
It doesn't really matter.
That ship has sailed. The ship has sailed.
Yeah. But still, I mean, that's the person that started it all. It would be nice to have that knowledge, I guess. But this documentary, there's no fucking way this is going to solve anything. it's very regarded in here, but definitely there's no way this is gonna be found through this simple documentary. I think that this ship has sailed, and we will probably never know. That's my opinion. I could be totally wrong.
I share that view. I share that view.
Okay.
Also, as an aside, like Netflix doesn't do anything well, really. So what makes them think that they could figure out who Satoshi is? Do you remember when this show was in its, HBO. Do you remember when this show was in its infancy? We did a Len Sassman Bitcoiner of the Week.
Yes, and you picked him. You did it.
Someone recommended it to me on Twitter. That person, it could have even been Boomer, honestly. It was an early episode. I don't know if Boomer was listening yet, but somebody recommended that I do Len Sassman.
If not, go back in the archives to see if you can find it.
I'd have to find it. But I mean, it's like way back. But
a lot of people are saying him.
He's not a bad guess, but like the thing is,
he's gone.
Exactly. And everyone who thinks that they have the name, right, is always pointing to some guy who's dead or Adam Back. Sometimes it's Adam Back. Sometimes it's Nick Szabo. But like these guys, if they didn't move the coins yet, like these guys are not waiting for the 2024 Bitcoin bull run. There's 1 million coins, man. The Satoshi coins, they are a great many. If you want to live on a yacht the rest of your life and, ensure that your entire bloodline for 1,000 generations is taken care of, you could have done it already. You don't need to wait for 75K or whatever. There's no laser eyes on this guy till 100K. He doesn't care that much. So I think here's a question for you, just a little fun aside. Satoshi, alive or dead?
I'm guessing dead. Do you figure through the history of him leaving, he would have moved one?
I don't know
of those coins. So, but the fact that it's
what happens first? Second coming of Jesus Christ or Satoshi moving the coins?
I don't fucking know.
Hard to say. This segment sponsored by FanDuel. Plus or minus.
Oh, here's a better one. This is one you're gonna like. The Toronto Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup or Satoshi Nakamoto moving a coin.
I say the coins. So
I think that's a better analogy.
I say the coins for sure.
Or question, sorry. But there you go. I'm not sure if you want to talk
watch.
Anything.
We both said that we're not going to watch, but now I'm kind of reconsidering it. Is it like a docu-series or just one documentary?
I think it's one.
I got to watch the Vince McMahon documentary. I have to finish that. I got to finish Love is Blind. What else did I want to watch? I put in like another, Elon on Tucker I have to listen to. And now I have to do this too. I could make time.
You'll have a lot of downtime very soon.
I'll be at home at least. So yeah.
You're tired, but you'll have downtime.
Yeah. Sure.
Coinbase. We should chat about them quickly. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about them or anything. I want to pump your bags if possible, Joey. Let's get you to the easy street. But they are going to be bowing down to the wishes of the EU. And they have announced that due to the markets in crypto assets regulation, MiCA, I think is.
Yeah, we talked about MiCA before on the show. Yeah.
And it's pronounced MiCA, right?
Yep.
So these rules come into effect December 31st this year. And it says that unauthorized stablecoins, such as Tether, will need to be delisted from Coinbase. And so Coinbase is going to be honoring
So bogus, man. So bogus.
So MiCA is requiring issuers of stablecoins to meet strict transparency, liquidity, and consumer protection standards, for which Tether doesn't meet any of these, according to their standards.
Consumer protection again.
Well, we talked about like Tether quite a bit in the past little while. Looking at this might make it harder for people to onboard into Tether because it looks like they're going to be closing on ramps and off ramps in the EU. Operation Choke Point 2.0, but for stablecoins. Either way, if you don't, USDT, I don't think this is being heavily used in the EU. Let's be honest. The euro is still relatively stable compared to the USD, in my opinion. I suspect the people that are using something like USDT are people in developing nations. Maybe people are buying it purchasing it in the EU and sending it to people abroad. I don't know, but I can understand why people in developing nations wanting to use it, USDT, to try to avoid using the local currency, which tends to be, in comparison to the US dollar, not too good. But people in the EU will still have options if they want to get hold of a stablecoin. USDC is still going to be there. So, but these are the guys that also blacklisted some addresses. So it's kind of very much centralized. For non-compliance, they blacklisted. So yeah, there you go. Is this going to be the way that governments worldwide are going to try to get and go against USDT?
I know one government that's not going to. I know one government that's not going to.
Which one?
The U.S. government.
For USDT?
Yeah.
Explain.
The bonds, the treasury notes.
Do you think they need the sales of them, and they want?
I think they're intertwined now. I still want to get Mark Goodwin back on the show to talk about this. But yeah, I think that they're presumably, if you look at Choke Point in the States, they've done basically everything but go after Tether. Even though Tether was really at the center of a lot of discussion about, fake price movement and artificially inflating the price of Bitcoin. They didn't have the things that Tether back one-to-one. And then Tether had to start talking about, well, it's not one-to-one cash, it's one-to-one cash and cash equivalents. And that's when the whole treasury note story started to come out. Like, here's what we actually have. Oh, it's, 100 billion in fucking 90-day paper. Yeah, so I don't know. As far as like the Coinbase story, I don't really care about this. Like Coinbase is stablecoin.
Care about Coinbase. It's Coinbase.
Does Coinbase's stablecoin really matter in the grand scheme? Is basically what I'm asking. Yeah, like I'm not sure that it does. Tether is the one everyone uses. That's the one.
Where do they make most of their fees? It's going to be trades, right?
I guess, yeah, trading fees. SB was saying that it was trading fees, yeah.
So USDC or USDT or DC.
It's a fun side project, and like maybe it helps with. Does it help people get liquidity? Maybe if they need it and they don't want it in their local currency. Like, I don't know. Was the intention that you become sort of this walled garden? They've tried this already, right, with the Bitcoin stuff. So you can only like use or send Bitcoin to other Coinbase addresses on chain. What was the story a few months ago? I forget now. So I'm speaking out of turn here for sure. But the point is that they've tried to do this walled garden thing in the past. And I think USDC was part of that playbook, but it just doesn't, it doesn't make a lot of sense to use that if Tether is out there, right?
We should do our own.
CBPT?
US CBP.
I think you can only do 4 letters. 4 letters on the ticker.
Oh, really?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
No, man, there's some shitcoins that probably have longer tickers than that.
Oh, maybe like.
Let's be honest.
No, I don't think so. Is it?
Okay, we'll do CBPT or C or whatever, something like that. Rest assured, it's going to be backed 1-to-1 by US dollars, Canadian, where the fuck it is, and so you could use that to buy whatever you want. So definitely buy it once we release it.
Boomer got the ticker in there for us. Cuck.
Yeah. We'll do it on the Woo network.
What about the Whiff network? Dog Whiff Hat or whatever.
Fuck that shit. All right, let's keep talking about these shitcoins because Bitwise, they made some news this past week. They have filed with the SEC for a Bitcoin's Treasury Rotation ETF, ticker BITC. And they wish to convert their existing ETFs into new products. So they have 3 different ones. I'm going to focus on the Bitcoin one because they got one with Ethereum and one for a combination of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the Bitcoin one is going to become the Bitcoin Strategy Optimum Roll ETF. And it's, this is going to be renamed as the Trend-Wise Bitcoin and Treasuries Rotation Strategy ETF. What a fucking name. So the strategy here.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Strategy here is to use, this is fucked up, Joey. They're going to use an exponential moving average to decide on a safer investment. If the 10-day EMA is higher than the 20-day EMA, the fund will focus on Bitcoin.
Right.
If the 20-day EMA overtakes the 10-day EMA, the fund will shift to U.S. Treasuries.
Yeah. Okay.
And the goal of this is to reduce volatility. Just fucking take my money and burn it. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, that's like a pretty standard technical indicator, right? The EMA is crossing. So overtake is just a way to say crossing down or crossing up. So if you get like that's not the the right time frame for death cross and golden cross. But generally, if you buy on a golden cross, you know, when the price is trending upward or about to trend upward on the moving averages, you're in for a pretty high probability upswing, you know, length of time TBD, depth and breadth TBD, but an upswing. And then on the way down, generally, if you sell at that time, you know, you get a pretty decent likelihood that you're going to be in the same boat. I honestly have half a mind here to just pull out the crayons and do this right now.
But with this, they're hoping that it's going to be
if you type in Bitcoin in TradingView, the first thing that comes up is BITC, Bitwise strategy.
There you go.
Oh, fuck,
so they're hoping that it's going to be approved by the SEC and ready for trading by December, early December.
Yeah, sure. Aren't we all? I'm gonna add these lines here. Hold on. I'm gonna
because
do this
what they have
now.
right now is the existing futures, right? I think that's what they want to transfer over.
Yeah.
Right. So like, good for them.
So that's EMA he's using.
The 10-day compared to the 20-day. That's going to, so the comparable between the two is going to decide if they're going to be focusing on Bitcoin or US Treasuries. Oh yeah, Treasuries, baby.
Let me see it. Geez, I wish I'd done this in advance. Go to TradingView and you just use the EMA. I think TradingView actually calls it moving average exponential, not exponential moving average. And so go there and just have a look and see when those lines cross each other and see how the price moves shortly after. It's pretty reliable, but it's just like, you know, there's fees associated with strategies like this. You could do this on your own if you really wanted to, right? You could sell certain points. I know that in the past, like again, when the show was in its infancy, we used to talk about these crosses once in a while. And I used to tweet before I was like deleting my tweets, that on these crosses, it takes away some of the emotion in the buying. Like if you're planning on buying a big chunk, just wait for the next cross and you'll feel pretty good about it. And if you want to sell a chunk or you want to, you know, like use a chunk or whatever, like you feel pretty good when those things cross down that you're going to get a significant downward price move. Again, like the depth and breadth and length or whatever, like it's up in the air, but there's some reasonable expectation that the outcome will be good on the one side, bad on the other. I don't know why you need a strategy for this though. I guess the treasury is really the other side of the strategy is what the selling point is, but why the fuck would you be in treasuries? Why not just be in, I don't know. Like it's not really worth it.
I don't know. I mean, there's other options. There's the FIBB, the fuck it buy Bitcoin strategy.
Yeah, I do like that ticker. Yeah.
And it's a strategy. So if you're able to trade your local currency for Bitcoin, then the FIBB takes into effect. You do that until you can no longer trade your local currency for Bitcoin. Then the FIBB is no longer applicable. So
you can't use that strategy anymore.
The fuck it buy Bitcoin. That's all you got to do. So I think I think of Joey. I guess we could take one last quick story. Metaplanet, they just keep buying more and more Bitcoin. I don't know how the fuck.
Did they buy again? I didn't know that.
It's like every fucking day they buy. It's every day of the month they buy. It's something like 3 Bitcoin a month, or no more than that. Sorry, 35 Bitcoin a day or something. They're buying. It's something crazy. Like the fuck are these guys? These guys are like good for them.
I like it. Yeah. What's not to like about that? These guys are putting their money where their mouth is, right? That's what we want to see around here.
Yeah. Everyone should be doing this kind of thing, and good for them. But I guess that's it for Bitcoin. For me, unless you want to talk about any other Bitcoin related story. But
no, I don't think so. I think we're good. Let's go to the notable news. If you're on audio, see you tomorrow. If you're on video, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, stick around. We got another, 50, 45, whatever minutes to go. So strap in.
Don't be a cock.